In this video, we'll be looking at the user experience of TikTok and Instagram Reels. Now, as a product manager, one of the things that I like to do is go check out new applications, old applications, and start comparing the user experiences. It gives me an idea of how these applications evolve, how do the user experiences change, and what kind of product strategies do they implement in order to get more engagement, more users, and so on. All right, so let's talk about TikTok and Instagram. By the way, these apps are massively popular and the numbers speak for itself. TikTok and Instagram both claim to have about 2 billion users totally on their platform, and they have like 1 billion monthly active users. Now that's a massive scale to have on a monthly active users. But what blew my mind really is this next number. TikTok actually gets 34 million videos posted every day. On Instagram, the number is 95 million, but it includes photos and videos and stories and everything else. Next, let's quickly talk about the engagement rate. Now, engagement rate is that golden number that every company is after. Engagement rate is calculated in different ways in different companies. And one of the ways that this number gets arrived at is how many followers you have versus how many comments and likes you get. Or it could also look at total videos posted versus total comments. And there is this average 2 to 3% engagement rate on TikTok and 1 to 2% engagement rate on Instagram. Before we get into the next segment, I want to give you a quick fact on Instagram and TikTok. India has the highest number of Instagram users with 385 million people, and Indonesia has the highest number of TikTok users with about 127 million users. With these kind of statistics, it gives you a perspective of the audience that is there on the platform and the kind of content you are expected to see, engage with. Now, this is the homepage of TikTok and Instagram. So Instagram defaults to their general feed, which is photos and reels and stories, and everything else comes up first. So as you can see, starting from the top, you have some stories and then you have reels and photos in the same feed. And if you want to access reels, you have a separate action button here. So this icon, if you click on it or if you tap on it, that is not a click anymore, but if you tap on it, you go to the Reels user experience. Compare that to TikTok. Now in TikTok, the default screen is on the videos that they have. So whatever is your For You page comes up with as a default. Now notice how For You is a common usage in both Instagram and TikTok. It always makes me wonder if one of them has copied the other. It might be the case, it might not be, I'm not sure. It's weird to have For You as the exact copy in both the applications. Now on the home screen here, we have these icons here. One of the primary actions which is highlighted is this create TikTok right away. The same thing follows in Instagram as well. You have an option to create. Now immediately after this main action button here in the center, you have a search icon. Now search icon in Instagram is at the bottom, whereas search icon is at the top in TikTok. So that is something I found quite interesting because TikTok has chosen to keep friends over here. I never actually use this friends as an action here. I either go to my For You page or I go to search. Profile icon remains the same. Bottom navigation bar in both these applications seem to be following a similar pattern. Now moving on to the screen itself, if you see most of the space has been taken up by the video, but if you observe slowly, the video space is reducing and the actual viewing part of the video is kind of reducing with time. And at least this is my experience. Notice how you have these many icons here and same thing over here. They have equal number of icons, but the actions are slightly different. So they are not all the same. Follow action is very close to your like button in TikTok. I sense they have tested this because there is a chance you might accidentally follow someone when you're about to like a video. Instagram has placed it at the bottom here, which is right next to the profile and audio. Also observe how Instagram has actually spelled out follow, whereas TikTok has given a plus sign. So on this homepage, what I see is TikTok defaults to their videos straight away, whereas in Instagram, you have a single click before you get to the actual Reels content. Another thing that I observed is your live action at the top here. So I do not see the same thing on Instagram. Instagram has a different way of showing live. Whenever a creator goes live, it is a different user experience. It's not on this Reels content yet. And in TikTok, however, there is a dedicated live section. So if you click on it, all the lives are there in an infinite scroll again. Now, honestly speaking, to me, both these applications seem kind of similar. They have same icons, they have same features, almost at parity in that sense. Now let's look at the user experience of like button. Notice how like icon is same for both TikTok and Instagram. As a product manager, I always think about this one aspect, which is carried user behavior. There are certain companies and brands that set a precedent or a tone for what is to come next. If you observe any food delivery app, you will notice that after a point, all these applications sort of converge to have a single user experience. Similar thing has happened to these platforms. As they mature, they start learning where the placement of this like button is, which is simply here at the top. Imagine if I had to search for like button on this screen. That's not going to happen. When I compare and contrast these products, what I'm trying to look for is, why do these companies go for certain icon only? Why do they go for a certain experience only? Given the fact that they have millions of users at any given point of time active on the application, they have enough data to probably justify. One of the things I always do as a product manager is go look for the content online by these teams. So Instagram and TikTok will have research blogs online, and so I go and read them. And you will find some nuggets of information of why a certain experience was designed the way you see it. Moving on to the next section, which is comments. Comments is pretty straightforward. The only difference I see is it gives me a total count of comments, and there is a close action is different, which is present in TikTok, but then this is a slide up and slide down experience in Instagram. Very slight difference there. Instagram does a filtering based on for you. I think TikTok also arranges the comments in order of its popularity. It is not chronologically arranged always. It is based on the popularity of the comment. And I think there is definitely some algorithm on which comment should be at the top. Comment is a very interesting feature on the social media apps. People like to give unsolicited advice, suggestions, opinions all the time. So if there is a way for me to go ahead and share a comment, I'm going to do that. But recently, what I've noticed is in my own behavior, I do not actually comment if I see more than 100 or 1,000 comments on a video. That's about it for comments. Let's go on to the next one. This is the user experience of sharing a reel or sharing a TikTok. For some reason, I find both the apps to be having slight clutter in there. Now, there are some differences in the way TikTok and Instagram treats this share feature. Now, in TikTok, you click on that share icon and immediately you get this kind of view. Observe how they have prioritized the first row, the second row, and then the third row. There seems to be some thought process here. The first row is either your followers, your friends, or people you follow on the TikTok app. And then you have this social sharing, which is share it across WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, etc. And then you have some actions around the video. Now, that's something interesting. So when I click on the share icon, I get to see all of the other actions as well. Whereas Instagram has a slightly different approach for share. Now, the first thing that I notice with Instagram is the use of this top space. First of all, it is a bit bigger than TikTok, and they have chosen to do vertical scroll, right? So now I can see all my followings or followers on this page, and then I have an option to add to story, WhatsApp, etc. So in a nutshell, the sharing experience is kind of similar, but also not very similar. And I know that these platforms rely a lot on the sharing aspect of a video, because the more you share, the more views you get and the more engagement it drives. And so that's the whole point of having the share feature. Now, moving on to the next one, let's look at the experience of save. TikTok has a dedicated save button right here. So this is what you notice. You can directly save it from here. Instagram has the save button somewhere at the top hidden here. It is not a dedicated button. I have my doubts that save feature is not really that big of a deal compared to comments and shares in order to drive more engagement. Given the hiddenness of save tells me that they may have some interesting data on why they moved it. I have a suspicion here that these algorithms are becoming so good in identifying what you want to do that maybe the only thing you need is search. So TikTok search has already become that kind of a tool where if you can just type in any phrase, any sentence, and it will give you the most relevant video ever. Either that or they actually have no other data but simply moved it over here. Product teams run experiments all the time just to see the behavior, and they might even bring back the save button in the future. At the moment, what I can see is it's easy to save in TikTok and kind of hidden in Instagram. Now, I do want to make a quick mention that this was merely a a breakdown of the UI, the user interface, the user experience of Reels and TikTok. This does not mean that these platforms are bad or good, because that's a whole different topic on social media apps becoming more and more addictive. So, TikTok and Instagram are here to stay whether we like it or not. We are also using these apps on a daily basis and they've become a part of our life. Either we are sharing or we are consuming the content shared by others. Now, as a product manager, my interest is simply in understanding these products on how they design, how the designs evolve, how the product also evolves. You will notice how they experiment with the UI at all times. These are not just random actions taken by a designer or a product manager. There has to be some data driven decision making going around, simply with the focus of driving more engagement and more views and more content. But for me, this was a fun case study to do, which is to compare the experiences of Instagram and TikTok. I have done similar ones on food delivery app and you can find them on my channel. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.